Red Rising. Is this something worth considering picking up, or is it something that you could potentially skip when you're looking to fill out your collection? Find out. Hey everyone, I'm Bryan. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to be reviewing Red Rising by Stonemaier Games. This was sent to me by Stonemaier for my review, so we'll be covering this, basically talking about what I liked, what I didn't like, and also what I feel like could be improved. Now, with my reviews, I have been trying to do basically my Stonemaier collection. Everything that I have that is Stonemaier. We wanted to eventually get through it because Stonemaier Games, at least when I was brand new into the hobby, were kind of a mainstay in my collection. Now, Red Rising has been one that's always been intriguing me. I never owned it, and luckily Stonemaier was gracious enough to send it to me for my review, and so here we are talking about it. So what is Red Rising? Well, this is a game that is a set collection game. You'll be starting off with 5 random cards from the core deck here, and as you can see, there are 4 sections here on the board with currently 2 cards laid out. Now, there are multiple different colors, I would say, in this, and they each represent a different faction in the Red Rising universe. Now, this is an IP-based game based on a book. I have not read that book. I cannot give you any type of opinion whether or not this is a good transition from the book to the board game. But what I can tell you is how the gameplay works and whether I liked it, didn't like it, and would I recommend it. So overall, in this game, players are going to be having these cards, and your goal is to try to create the best 5+ card hand that combos with each other using different types of points or abilities that every card has. Now, that is the important, interesting thing about this game, is the amount of unique and different abilities each card has on them and how they interplay and work with each other. So, with this game, what is the core gameplay loop? What are we going to be doing over and over? And that is effectively 2 different actions. The first action is a deploy. You'll have 5 cards in your hand. You're going to choose a card from your hand, and you're going to play in one of the 4 sections. It is important to note which one you play from because you have to select a card from the board, not including the one you deployed to. If there is an ability on your card, this is also where you would trigger that ability, which is part of the interesting combinations that you can create. And then you will select a card from another row, adding it to your hand and taking whatever action that row has. For example, Mars would be collecting one of these red helium cubes. If I chose Luna, I would gain control of the sovereignty. If I chose Institute, I would put a token on top. And if I went to Jupiter, we would be moving up the track. Now, why is that important to have these things happening? What is the reasoning for that? Well, after a player has achieved 2 of the things 7 times, so either 7 of these, 7 on the track, or 7 in Institute, the game is over, or the whole table has reached 7, as a team, not really as a team, but together. Individually, we all have at least something on there, each equaling 7 on the board. Then the game will trigger, which is endgame scoring, and you'll notice in classic Stonemaier fashion, they've got points here, basically dictating what kind of scoring there are. All the cards have different type of point scoring options on there, so you're going to try to build your hand before the game ends to create the best combination. And this system will repeat, so the next player will then do the same thing. They'll play a card in a section, add a card to their hand, taking whatever action, placing their cube up here for the Institute, etc. Now, there are take that mechanics in this game where someone could target your hand, taking a random card from it and adding it to their own. Things like that are brutal in this game because the less cards you have no way of ever adding more cards to your hand. So the reducing, it basically can cripple you and knock you out of the game. In terms of more asymmetricalness, there are factions that you'll be choosing. Each one does something differently, having different kind of ability, especially when you have the sovereign token. So those are probably part of the book, something to take note of. So let's talk about what I liked about Red Rising. First off, I don't play a lot of games anymore that are 30 to 45 minute games. So playing Red Rising, it was nearly shocking that we finished when we did. We're like, well, I feel like we just started. Lately, so many of our games have been, that 1 hour and 30 minutes to 2 or 3 hour gameplay sessions. So having something that ends in the 30 to 45 minutes was a bit refreshing because it allowed us to play several more games in the span that we could have played just one another title. So that is something I actually enjoyed. It was kind of refreshing, kind of having something that I haven't played in a while, an experience I haven't had in a while, that quick kind of pick up and go game. And I think this is a great setting for that. It really worked well. There's a lot of zany things happening, and that's something else I want to talk about. The zany things. There are abilities and abilities that these different characters have, and when you combine them with one another, a lot of weird stuff can happen on the board, basically clearing out entire sections, making an entire institute thing 20 or 30 cards deep. It just has a lot of funny things that can occur, but it also deals with a lot of randomness, so you can take that or leave that. The other thing is hard for me to describe in terms of how I thought about it, but the theme seems really cool. It makes me want to read Red Rising. I think this is an idea that I like the idea of what it's presenting. You have all these different colors that seem to be part of a society caste system, and basically playing this, I would feel like it's a good implementation of what the book would be. But again, like I said, I haven't read it. But I feel like the theme is pretty interesting, and I like the way the cards interact with each other. Basically, some of the cards will say they work well with certain colors, or they want to be away from colors, like they don't want to be with black. For example, this card says it's 10 points for each other red card in your hand. But if it's with a gray, except Bridge, who's a character name, she's worth minus 10 points. So she's worth nothing at that point. So I kind of like how the cards play with each other, and I believe it probably plays in very well with the theming of Red Rising. The other thing I really, really enjoyed, and this is kind of a mainstay when it comes to Stonemaier Games, is the basic deluxeification feel of this game. Now, I do have the collector's edition, so my opinion is only based on the copy that I've seen. I haven't seen the standard retail version, but this collector's edition just blew my mind away with the deluxeified components, everything that we have here. You got the metal cubes, they've kind of metallic looking, the sovereignty token and the moon. These things are incredible. I love the way the game really comes at you. And there are a special card. It's the gold card. Why is this guy upside down? There's a gold card that is foiled. So all of the gold people who are like the elite people of the society have a special foiling to them that really gives a nice deluxeification feel to the game. And you feel like these cards are worth something more in terms of their ability or what they do whenever you draw one of them. So let's talk about what I think this game could improve on. And the thing is, it's going to be hard, and especially for this review, it's the core gameplay loop mechanic that I've already kind of talked about, the playing cards, picking up cards. And the reason why I say that, the biggest thing is this size of a deck. I normally like variety, so it's hard for me to talk about this kind of stuff. But there is so much randomness going on, it's really hard for a player to strategize and come up with a plan based on your opening cards and what's available to you. So you might have cards that'll say, for example, be with a specific character, be with the judge, or something to that manner. Well, the likelihood of the judge being drawn from the top of the deck is very, very low. So that's something to be considered. And so when you're playing this, it just feels like we're kind of shuffling our initial starting hands. Now, I didn't talk about the second ability. The second action that if you want to choose one, if you were satisfied with your cards, or if none of these cards are something you want to play, you can do something that's called Scout, where you take the top card, you deploy it to a section, but you do not do the action ability of the deploys. You're just kind of placing more cards onto the field. So this is a way that you can get additional cards onto the field, but it doesn't help very much in terms, it almost feels like you're skipping your turn because you're not taking advantage of the deploy abilities, which are fairly powerful. So it kind of sucks that the things that I feel like it can improve are the main gameplay aspect of this game. Now, let's take that to things I didn't like, because they're kind of intertwined. And that mostly it was the randomness of this game and the lack of important decisions that players make when they're playing this game. I felt like it was less about making strategically good decision making, because it's so hard to make those decisions based on what's on the field at the time, and just choosing what is the best available decision at this moment. So if you're okay with a more of a casual gameplay experience, I think Red Rising is a great fun time, especially for that 30 to 45 minute gameplay experience. But if you're looking for something that's going to give you some challenging thoughts, trying to figure out a puzzle, I feel like you're going to be disappointed with Red Rising, because there's just not enough depth here for you to really find the strategy lines. Not to say that there aren't strategy abilities with this game. I bet there are. You maybe have to play 50 times to find them. I just found it hard to get to that point based on the system that is presented and how you're going to be playing your cards, adding cards to your hand, and going forward from there. So my final recommendation: would I recommend Red Rising to a friend? Again, I would say yes, I would give a recommendation, but on the caveat that there are that you are looking for a game that's more of a party game. And when I say party game, more of a light, multiple people there system that's going to be just for fun and less about a competitive environment. If that sounds like something you're interested in, I think Red Rising could be a good little fit to your collection. I'd recommend looking for it. If not, I would probably steer clear. There's probably other games in this type of system that would probably be a better fit for you. So with that, this is Bryan from Game Brigade. I hope this review was helpful for you. If it was, please leave a comment down below, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.